What's up, y'all? This is Coach Skin Funny. I'm back at it once again. And I'd like to thank my ancestors, for giving me the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And also, I'd like to thank you for watching, doing it real big for this new year, 2019. Uh, this one right here, I'd like to give credit to Professor James Smalls. Just a quick little backdrop before I get into the reading. He was talking about how in Ghana, when it first came back to me in Ghana again in the 1950s, Kwame Nkrumah wanted to build a nuclear reactor. And as soon as he got the nuclear reactor built up and started, the CIA came and knocked him out the country. And I was like, wow, really? I heard about it before, but I didn't know it was a nuclear reactor, But Professor James Smalls, he broke it down. So, shout out to Professor James Smalls. He's doing big things, and much love to that elder. So this is what I'm going to lay it down for y'all about how Kwame Nkrumah laid the foundations for the nuclear reactor in 1964. This is first published in the Ghanaian Review International, March 2017. Casting my mind back 50 years of Ghanaian independence and comparing developmental strides of the country had chalked with peer-like countries of Malaysia and Singapore. I believe there's a lot of Ghanaians can be proud of. The first president, Kwame Nkrumah, who led the country to wrest the political independence from the British colonials, had a great vision for the country, a vision which transcended its immediate developments and trappings of the time. Long before Ghana hit the road of a power crisis, Dr. Nkrumah was looking beyond a hydroelectronic plant of the realms of atomic energy where sustainable power supply was not a dream but a scientific reality. Linda Ashanti Agwe reproduces Nkrumah's speech in which he delivered to lay the foundation stones for the construction of Ghana's atomic reactor at Kabina on 25th of November 1964. Now this is Nkrumah speaking. We are gathered here this afternoon to mark the beginning of Ghana's Atomic Nuclear Reactor Center. This center, when completed, will be able Ghana to participate in developments of now taking place in atomic science. And this is the way we shall be equipped with greater knowledge and a means to give a richer service to our people and to Africa. Nearly 3 years ago, we decided to build an atomic reactor in Ghana. We were fully aware that our motives might be misconstrued, for the setting up of an atomic reactor is the first practical step of building an atomic bomb. We have always stood for the use of fissile material exclusively for peaceful ends. We have consistently stood up against the unnecessary proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and equal consistency for the abolishment of such weapons. Our sole motivation in reaching the decision to build a center, which you now see rising before you, is to enable Ghana to take advantage of the decisive methods of research and development which mark our modern world. It is essential to do this if we are to impart in our development and acceleration which is required to break even with more advanced economies. We therefore have been compelled to enter the field of atomic energy because this is already promised to yield great economic source of power since the beginning of man. Our success in this field will enable us to involve many-sided problems which face us in all spheres of our development in Ghana and Africa. We know that doubts have been expressed concerning the wisdom and the practicability of our decision. Many important but conclusive reasons have not been advanced to persuade us to abandon the project, but we are not persuaded. Let me say, in the age of science and technology, in this age of atomic revolution, neither Ghana nor Africa can afford to lag behind our nations or to ignore scientific development of our time. Indeed, we start with certain definite advantages over many nations, which have preceded us in scientific revolution. Allow me to remind you of the metaphysical problem of the flea. You know that some people have wondered with some concerns or whether assuming there is a flea on our back. There is a back on the mirror of the flea, and there is a back of the minor flea, and there upon the back of the minor flea is a mini minor flea, and so on, and add a conundrum. A similar problem was expressed in the history of science about matter. We, however, have not proved for ourselves that an atom can be split. We have not had discovered that the steam can produce energy, or water power can generate electricity. Indeed, we have many ends. We make our start from the great body of scientific and technological attainment, which is the common heritage of mankind. Beginning as lofty as we do, there is no reason for us to be timid in joining forward march of knowledge. We have a second reason in the field of atomic research. It is known for the development of peaceful use of atomic energy can bring about form of transformation in the life of mankind. A social society, much more than any other, needs to bring about such profound changes in order to produce for all. We in Ghana are committed to building and industrializing a socialist society. We cannot afford to sit still and be merely passive onlookers. We must ourselves take part in the pursuit of scientific and technological research as a means of providing the basis for our social society. Socialism without science is void. Already, the residential sites where many Ghanaian scientists and engineers who will be engaged in this project will live have been completed. These young men and women who have received their specialist training in the Soviet Union and elsewhere provide a basis for our corps of skilled specialists in nuclear sciences. We are sending more Ghanaians abroad to acquire their specialist knowledge and training. Now we embarked on the second stage of the project. This will include construction of the reactor itself and the construction of monitoring the station to ensure no harmful radioactive substances are released or disseminated. Radiochemical laboratories are to be built where the elaborate procedures of the processing radioactive substance will be carried out. There will also be many other academic buildings for such projects called for. By 1966, the reactor itself should be in operation. The research center will start on an extensive program of research, which all the elaborate and intricate preparations are being made. Every stage of this complicated preparatory work has been carried through the aid of specialists and scientists provided by the government of the Soviet Union. At all stages, there will be a closest and many and friendly cooperation between Ghana and the Soviet Union. The friendly relations between our two countries have been strengthened by the success of this common endeavor. In 1961, I caused the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission to be established to guide and direct this enterprise. Our Atomic Energy Commission now operates closely in relationship with the International Atomic Energy Agency. Only recently, the director and the deputy of the director of the agency visit Ghana and commendably favor on our breadth of our visions of our plans. We believe that the amount of energy which can be generated in Ghana can play a decisive role in the development of our energy, our industry, agriculture, health, and other services, and certainly for the effect of a rapid internationalization of our country, must rest on the provision of cheap and abundant power. This is why we placed our faith in the Volta River Project, which perhaps might never have been started without the personal interest of the late President Kennedy and the assistance of the United States government. And without friendly relations between Ghana and the United States of America, this project would not have been possible. I speak the Volta Lake has risen 260 feet and can be confidently expected that the power be generated at the coastal Sumbo by the end of 1965. The greatest consumer of this power will be this aluminum smelter, which can be established by the Volta Aluminum Company at Temine. I am glad to announce that this groundbreaking ceremony to mark the beginning of the work will take place in 10 days' time on Saturday, the 5th of December. I have also recently directed Ghanaian Atomic Energy Commission to investigate and expand research on the possibility of solar energy, which is already growing at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. It is estimated that even 1/10 of the solar energy falling on the Earth's surface will be enough to provide amount of energy several times in the amount generated at present. In Africa, we have no lack of sunlight, and the development of solar energy should be our main scientific preoccupations. Ladies and gentlemen, science can be applied for the good ends of the betterment of the human race, or for bad ends making weapons of mass destruction. In no field of science is contrast between the two aspects so great as in atomic energy. The hydrogen bomb, the instrument of mass destruction which we all fear and dread so much, is based on the same source of power. Scientists hope that in the very near future, thermonuclear reaction will release unlimited sources of power for the industrial use. If the world can survive the threat of annihilation posed by hydrogen bomb and other agents of mass destruction, then peaceful application of thermonuclear energy, which is at the present predominantly turned to warlike purposes, will bring about an unprecedented release of human race from drudgery and fear, starvation and poverty, which is now the lot of so many. It is in this important field that the peaceful use of nuclear energy can play a major role. The greatest of the happiness of the greatest number is only possible through the purpose application of the science to the peaceful ends. One of the most urgent tasks before us, therefore, is to secure worldwide and complete disarmament and abandoning of all nuclear devices of mass destruction. This process is rapidly becoming more urgent and more difficult as the number of nations which have access to these weapons increase. That is why we support wholeheartedly the efforts of the Organization of African Unity, and the United Nations to make Africa a nuclear-free zone. Ladies and gentlemen, the scientists world over have recognized the urgency and endangerment of our nuclear predicament. They have their own special responsibility and involvement in it. Science is a social being and can be affected on idealistically concerning the destiny of mankind. The scientist can, by his own specialized knowledge, affect our whole fate, and he must, for the reason, accept a proportionate obligation in public affairs. Many issues can be resolved only on the basis of scientific and technological knowledge. For this, the public and the government turn to a scientist for advice. It is the scientist's duty to serve them well, consciously and scrupulously, without regard for personal ambition or for the natural wish to say that it's pleasant to hear. The scientist must also explain to us the consequences of our acceptance of his advice. He cannot accept credit for the great advancements in medicine, agriculture, and industry, and at the same time disclaim responsibility for the consequences of methods of rapid destruction. Here, scientists have an obligation to make the government and the people of the world fully aware of the dangers facing them and to give them a sobering and disinterested advice. We must unite in our fight for peace and complete disarmament. People of all nations must bend in every effort to the development of science and technology, which will herald a new and happy future for mankind. We in Ghana purpose to set a forceful example by restricting our efforts in the field of atomic researches to exclusively peaceful use. Other advanced sciences in the service of man is the advancement of socialism, is that an abolishment of imperialism in all its forms and manifestation. The Ghanaian Atomic Energy Program is destined for peaceful purposes, and Ghana was one of the first countries to sign a partial nuclear testing ban treaty in Moscow. Although the provisions of the treaty are incomplete, we intend to abide by its terms. Neither this reactor nor the laboratories attached to it will be directed for the development of devices of war. This reactor is designed for experimental work in the field of nuclear and atomic physics, including the study of the properties of materials and how they are affected by the radiation and radiochemistry. It will serve as a focal point for scientists and research workers from various institutions of the Ghanaian Academic of Science, from our universities and from our government laboratories all over the country. Here they will provide with facilities and investigations involving nuclear techniques in biology, agriculture, medicine, physics, and chemistry. It will be a center of training for Ghanaian scientists in the nuclear science and technology. A heterogeneous nuclear research reactor, as well as up-to-date radio and chemical laboratory and development of peaceful use for atomic energy in Ghana, will be centered around the Nuclear Research Institute to be established there. A radioscope center is assisting 5 agricultural centers in Ghana's Academy of Science and University of Ghana in application with the isotopes, techniques in the study of the plant protection from the weeds, insects, and pests, and the uptake of fertilizers by the plants under local conditions. Among those uses of nuclear power, it is hoped to develop a peaceful use of nuclear explosives for excavation, mining, and recovery of gas and oil. The Atomic Reactor Center will provide experimental channels for the study of radiation genetics. Through these researchers will be able to become more possible to find a way of inducing genetic changes in plants and animals to provide better crops and better meats. In a point of fact, we are not entirely newcomers in this field of endeavor, For some time now, the Ghanaian Academy of Sciences have been pursuing a program of research work in which radioactive materials have been applied to many problems in agricultural medicine. During the coming year, the scope of this work will greatly increase. It provides a wide range of facilities needed to train many more researchers and programs for this technique. In planning this center, we have been painfully aware of our limitations in man and material, and a variety of complexity of the research problems which face Africa as a whole. Until we in Africa come together and establish a union government for all of Africa, we should be forced to tackle our problems in isolation, hampered by our disunity and our many disabilities. Progress will be slow, and we should deny ourselves the advantage of a well-integrated and calmly executed planning. This is another reason of the many compelling reasons why we in Ghana have made a persistent appeal for the early establishment of the continental government of Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, the basis of the whole program of socialist development must be the application of science and technology. For the implications of our 7-year plan, for the success of our agricultural industry, and for assuring increased output in the industrial production demand, we must apply the latest scientific techniques. We, especially our young men and women, must acquire and master these new techniques. We are already making every effort to raise both the number and the quality of our scientists who come from our university and to raise the standards of the science teaching in the schools. We have made great progress in this field. Much more remains to be done. There are not nearly enough Ghanaian scientists and Ghanaian technicians of all kinds of work that we have on hand. Even the best laboratory, the best equipment, or indeed the best reactor will not produce the scientific work on their own accord. Only men and women can do that, and long after the highly specialized training in scientific techniques. Hence, we need to press on with the greatest urgency to the scientific and technological training of young Ghanaians. Every boy and girl who shows talent in this direction must be encouraged and helped, because such talent is especially precious to us when we want to foster and we must foster and guard it. Our universities and various institutions of the Ghanaian Academy of Science and the University College of Science and Education in Cape Coast, and our newly established medical school and a proposed University College of Agriculture will help in providing this training. We also need to reach out to the masses of people who have not had the opportunities of formal education. We must use every means of mass communication, the press, the radio, television, and films. Last year, as part of the Academy anniversary selection, there was a science expedition at Accra. This year, there will be another one at Kasami. Similar expeditions have been held at our universities, Kasami and at Accra. The enthusiastic response to these exhibitions are the eager way to show in which our young men and women study exhibitions and going on most encouraging. The project of the National Science Museum, when completed next year, will provide this kind of exposition in a permanent form. This is a major project which will play to a great part of exciting public interest in science and conveying a direct and vivid way of the impact of science on everyday life. It is important that our people should not only be instructed in science, but also take part in it, apply it themselves in their own ways. For science is not just a subject to be learned out of a book or from a teacher, it is a way of life. It is tackling any problems which one can only master by using it for itself. We must have science clubs in which our people can develop their own talent and discovery and invention. I expect the Ghanaian Academy of Sciences to play a leading role in this time. And to that end, I have asked the Academy to prepare a first 7-year national program for the promotion of science in Ghana. This plan, which has already been ready for implementation, will ensure that within the next 7 years, science becomes part and parcel of the people's life, of our people. In order to provide necessary physical trainings, also to make a maximum effort of coordinating on my efforts, I am contemplating the creation of a special scientific community where scientists or the academics from different fields live and work. The scheme will enable the scientists to share common facilities and also increase personal communication between the scientists working on related problems. I have proposed the name Science City for this scientific community. It will have a main central building known as the Palace of Science, containing a whole range of laboratories and other facilities. Science City will accommodate a number of special research institutes and will be the center of academy will undertake and pilot industries based on its discovery. So that when the academy recommends the setup of any full-scale industry, it will be in a position not only to give expert advice on the type of industry plants that would be established, but to make the necessary economic appraisal of the post-proposed industry. One of the most important projects planned for the Science City is the National Bureau of Standards, where the testing of the quality of both imported and locally manufactured products will be undertaken to ensure they conform to acceptable standards. The Ghana Academy of Science should not be just a body of learned men elected for their distinction and eminence. It should be part of our national lives, serving the people of Ghana, working with them, and helping to bring science and scientists in the closest possible relationship with their lives. It is only through this practical union of theory and action of the man that can attain the highest material, cultural, moral, and spiritual fulfillment in his service to his fellow man. This ultimately is not only justification for the pursuit of knowledge and the discovery of science. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let me turn to the historic business before us today. I dedicate this reactor to the progress of true science, to the application of science, and to the well-being of man, to the enlargement of the spirits, and to the promotion of peace. I have great pleasure in laying this foundation stone of Ghana's Atomic Reactor Center. Thank you. Now, as we know, this didn't really happen because the CIA knocked him off. As you know, I was reading up earlier in the picture of the article. It was saying how they was getting with the Russians to build the CIA this factory, just build this reactor. Which Professor James said, Professor James Small said they was getting with the Bulgarians and the Russians and all that stuff, and they was just like, no, the CIA was not having that shit. They didn't trust the black people to do the right thing, and nor did they trust the Russians. So they got rid of Nkrumah. Probably one of the main reasons why they got rid of him because of the stuff he was setting up. And this would have been the first nuclear power country in Africa. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta look at it because I read recently today, matter of fact, that they just send their Ghanaians send their uranium to China or some shit like that, some off the wall stuff. Anyway, much love. Hey, subscribe to the channel. Much love, and hopefully y'all learned something. You know what I'm saying? The nuclear reactor in Ghana, set up by Kwame Nkrumah, who was knocked off by the CIA. Y'all have a wonderful one. Peace.